Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast. Two Wisconsin guys bringing you topical and relevant Packers news, along with their most humble, subjective opinions. This is episode 265. We're recording this on a Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. We're smack dab in the middle of free agency still, with a few weeks until the draft. Ren went on vacation, and we'll check in with the Packers to see what's been going on. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me in the studio tonight is our one and only
Ren. What up, Tay? Good to be back. How you doing? I don't even have to ask. I know you miss me. How did you make it all that time?
Barely. I was on IR. That's how bad it got. Even in the off season, I was on IR in the off season. That's how brutal it was. But
I figured as much. I thought about you every day. So
you
were there with me in spirit.
And you, I heard something about opening day, and I was like, we need some opening, coming out of our shell again, coming back off the bench, back into Packer Universe podcast territory. And I just got up and I was like, we're doing this today. Ren's coming over. We're bouncing back right smack dab in the middle of not much going on.
We got 6 inches of snow on the ground for April the 2nd or 3rd, whatever today is. It's like mid-season, end-season football time in Wisconsin, man.
Everyone knew that was going to happen. We were going to get dumped on in April, but
you get 70s in March. Of course, you're going to get snow in April.
Yeah. So we're here. We're talking about the Pack. Glad to have you back. We had a little bit of vacay time, but not much going on. I think I was trying to remember back.
The owners' meetings, Tay, but there's a more pressing thing before we start to talk about some of the anecdotes, and there are some juicy ones from the owners' meeting, and some rule changes and all sorts of interesting anecdotes for the league. And I don't know, we'll get into why they have to change a rule every freaking year. I don't know. But Packers Pro Shop tent sale starts Friday, Tay.
That's right.
Pressing news. So, I mean, when you think about this, Tay, you can look your best, come the 2024 season, with that price reduced Josiah DeGuara jersey. Yes. Just think about all the deals and steals you can get out there. That Patrick Taylor jersey, not going to be worn again, because guess what? He signed with the Niners today, Tay. So those will be hitting that tent sale rack.
Yes.
You need that Agent 69 jersey, although he's a legendary guy last year. Probably can pick one of those up for a decent price. So I just wanted pressing news there for Packer Universe. It's coming up in a couple days.
That's true.
Get those clearance sale jerseys. I myself looking for that DeGuara.
Well, I mean, who doesn't want some, extra socks that some guy wore one time and threw in the laundry basket? A Josiah DeGuara, sweatband, jockstrap. What do you want? These are the things that the true Packers fans goes out and gets.
I want those Josiah DeGuara, those catching gloves, because they're in mint condition.
Oh, snap! There are no grass stains in sight.
Those are pretty unused, Tay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I totally forgot. I was actually going to take that off, Friday off. I was like, I'm going to go to this thing, and I was going to maybe even take a half day or something. I mean, I should. I got to talk to my boss tomorrow. But tomorrow's Thursday already. That's not a lot of time to get.
Yeah, just tell him you gotta hit this thing. Tell him you'll get him.
Red.
I did come back from vacation. I've been in airports. Tay, you never know can transpire in the next 24 hours.
Okay,
you may.
That's a solid plan.
May end up with something.
Well, I mean, my nephew goes. He likes to collect these things.
They got game used rails from Lambo. I got all sorts of weird stuff.
Like one of a kind stuff that he'll get, and then he'll get the player to sign it, the Packer player to sign it or something. And so it's like double meaning, whatever. It's his, he did.
Sure.
Or placards, stuff that comes out of the locker room. Like, that's some cool stuff. And I've never seen it. I've never been there for this. So I just kind of thought to myself, Tay, well, you should just go to this and check it out. And I can fit a couple railings in the back of my car for you, Ren, if you wanted to, put those up in the backyard, do a little Lambo leap or whatever they've got going on.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, thanks for the reminder.
You are welcome.
Think about that.
We did Lambeau leaps when I turned 30 some years ago, Tay.
Back in the day.
And we had the whole field to ourselves. If you remember, you were there. We were throwing passes, you and me and my former brother-in-law. Just we had the field to ourselves. That was a good day.
Like I don't want to be like, oh, I got to go to Lambeau. Like we got to go to Lambeau.
We had Lambeau literally by ourselves. There was nobody there with the whole field just throwing balls around. It was awesome.
So, let's move on. What I've got going on here is a few things I've written down that's happened in the last thing. But you want to talk about the owners meeting and all those guys that go there. And I think there was a few that weren't there. Was Jerry not there? And there were
a number of GMs that weren't in the GM picture. They do a GM picture every year, and they had like 25 of 32 GMs in the picture.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jerry obviously is the GM of the Cowboys and the owner, and
he's everything. He's everything. Jerry World.
He's fertilizer soon. I mean, geez.
So I know that they offered some rule changes, but the one I had written down was this the kickoff rule.
Yes.
And just before we start on it, is this only in test period during the preseason?
No, this is a league year change.
They changed it for the entire regular season.
It is a 1 year go.
Okay.
So it is not written in forever, but if it ends up being something that they'd like,
they'll put it in.
They're going to revisit it at the end of the year. Yeah, but this is a new thing. I found a good kind of description of what this is, if you would like me to read it.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Is everybody ready out there in the universe? Well, here I go. So the team's kicker today will continue to kick from the 35-yard line.
Yeah.
But rather than being flanked by his teammates, the rest of the kicking team will line up at their opponent's 40-yard line. This eliminates the running head start typically seen on a kickoff. So kind of the theme there is reduce concussions, right, with that running head start. The returning team will field up to 2 returners in the backfield, and the rest of the team will line up in a new setup zone between the 30 and 35-yard line. Only the kicker and returners will be allowed to move until a returner touches the ball or the ball hits the ground. This thereby eliminates the fair catch rule, as any kick that is caught or lands in the landing zone must be returned, while any kick that falls short of the landing zone will be ruled a touchback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think after finally letting this sink in and seeing a couple things on like Twitter of like I think some other leagues do this, and you can see this in action. If you go look for it, you'll find it. But what this does is I love that it gets rid of the fair catch thing. So like there's none of that. Like there was a ton of those last year. But what they're trying to always do here is they're trying to prevent collisions, injuries, and stuff like that by having these 2 lines way further towards where the catch is being made. Mm-hmm. It eliminates the running towards that area.
Except the guy who catches the ball and runs forward,
which he only has about between 10 and 15 yards per se before contact. And usually he's trying to find a hole, that sort of thing. So right. I think this is good because I like the fact that there's going to be more opportunity for ball advancement than there ever was last year. And
it seems that way.
It seems that way. And I think if like you can get a touchback by catching it in the end zone and kneeling down, you can do that, and that comes out to the 30, I think, or is it the 20?
I think it's a 30.
30. And if the ball doesn't reach the 20, it doesn't go into that zone. It automatically goes to the 40-yard line, like it goes out of like it would have if it went out of bounds. So I think this makes the kicker, be deliberate with this. You're trying not to get it in the end zone, and you're trying not to get it, before the 20-yard line. You're trying to get this 20-yard thing, and I think that's kind of cool. That takes some skill. That gives another job to the kickers, honestly, and it promotes the ball being taken out and moved,
and it still promotes special teams because essentially you take the kickoff away. I mean, eventually do you just eliminate special teams. So this still keeps the kickoff alive, keeps a lot of potential jobs in the NFL alive from, the special teams coordinators and coach, along with these guys that have become really integral on football teams, on teams itself, as Matt LaFleur would say, on teams. But what I don't understand, Tay, is how did they address this whole onside kick, or this ability to, potentially get the ball back? Like, this clearly won't do it. So how can you, if you're down, how do you potentially do an onside kick?
I think you have to declare that. So once you say we're doing an onside kick, you have to do an onside kick.
So it's like the old school onside kick?
Yep.
Okay. So just for that specific thing,
they
go back to the old rule.
You have to declare it.
You declare onside kick and they kick. Okay. Yeah. That's the part I was not clear with.
And I think that's, now that it's something in itself can be debated, because we saw the low percentage of conversions on that, and whether that's entirely fair at all to begin with is another debate. Whether you should be allowed to come back with to rebound and score 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes to win the game. It's like, okay, I think that's another debate in itself.
So it sounds like maybe they're trying to figure out this one aspect, but still haven't figured out this very low percentage thing to convert, and they have to come up with another idea to give the game a little spice with that.
So I think this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing to try. I like this. I think we're all going to have a positive review of this, and hopefully we do see the intent happen, or sorry, the outcome happen. What the NFL wants is less injuries. So the intent for this is to lower injury and still keep the game fun and have opportunities for these players to advance the ball, because we all love to see it, being run out to the 40, 50-yard line, especially during a playoff game or something. It's like, it gets you pumped up. Those players want this to happen. And so how do you keep this and keep it safe? I think this is a helpful solution to try.
And certainly it's going to give those special teams coaches something to work on. And how do we set up this blocking scheme? Where do we go? Right, left, center, depending on the kick, and how do we want to, approach it and attack it? It's going to add certainly a new element there. They're going to have to sharpen their pencils, no doubt, on how they want to, go about it. So.
And how the rules were changed with the blocking, right? You couldn't have wedges. You could only have 2 guys together in proximity. You couldn't form a huge ass wedge, to run behind. I don't know where that comes into play here.
I don't either.
So we'll have to keep watch and listen for that. If anyone else knows out there, let us know if that rule goes away now with the wedge thing, or if you need to line up separated by 5 yards each. I don't know what those details are yet, but that would be interesting to know, because it's like, well, then you wouldn't kick. You would kick away from that wedge, right?
Well, it just seems like, to me, my thought process is the way it works with everybody up front is you just try to set up a blocking scheme no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And, you're all in close proximity, and hopefully if you're defending the kick, you guys can get to the returner. And hopefully, if you're on offense, essentially, you can break a hole for your guy like a Keyshawn Nixon, and he can run to daylight.
The only question mark I have on this, and maybe we're going a little long on this, but when the ball touches the ground or is it caught is when you can move. So the kickoff team, once they see the ball hit the ground or the ball is caught, they can go forward. And so the team that's trying to block them,
right? Like nobody, only the kicker and the returners, 1 or 2, can move, and until that play starts.
So the receiving team, if you're blocking for them, where are you looking? Are you looking backwards and then have to turn around and adjust your head towards the ball, to be, so like that's going to seem weird to me. Like there might be a lot of like false starts or something if you move before the ball.
And nobody's used to it yet either. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to say the least. Then we had the big controversial one pass day. Elimination of the hip drop tackle.
The hip to be square.
So this thing, I've heard a number of takes on it. Most of the takes across the NFL is most people are not real pleased with this, from the players union, most fans. typically these happen about 1 to 3 times in the course of a single NFL game. The problem is it's usually not done with intent. It's not poor tackling. It's poor fundamental tackling, right? That these are. Okay. So they're trying to eliminate a really dangerous play. And, obviously had the one big play against Mark Andrews last year that kind of is the one that stands out to everybody. Everybody's talked about it ad nauseum by this point. But the problem gets to the point where you're going to have more stoppage of play. Now it's going to result in a 15-yard penalty. And the worst part about it all is that the defensive player is going to get fined. So, I heard Charles Woodson put it out, how do you legislate this? Guys are already just trying to play football, and now they got to think when games are really reactive, right? It's a habit. It's a habit form game. So a lot of this stuff is instinctual, as you move and you're trying to make a play and tackle. Obviously, some of the fundamentals need to be changed. I heard one guy on another program bring it up, if you're already in a position where you have to make this kind of tackle, you are already at a detriment. So you're not playing the play right to begin with. Okay, so you're already behind the 8 ball. That's on you. So we're trying to legislate in safety. And if guys can't accept the fact that they've already made a poor decision and a poor angle, that's why this ended up the way it is. I mean, you can kind of see that. I get that. But to make players have to think in a game how they're going to, it just
quickly decide.
Right. In a game that is literally things are happening through, again, habit and just by reaction in such quick moments. I think it's kind of crap. Guys get to tackle. It just is what it is. And then, you've heard all the guys, they removed the horse collar for the game. Obviously, pulling a guy down, getting your hand underneath his pads and yanking him down the ground is completely different than maybe not making the best form tackle. And you had to pull him down to the ground. So I'm not a fan of it. I can't believe they passed it. I didn't think it would pass, but indeed it did. And again, you're asking for more stoppage of the game. And it seems like how do they call it? They're going to look at it. There are going to be times where the whole thing, what's a catch? Now, what's a hip drop tackle? We're going to be I don't understand what it is. And now that one's a flag and this one's not a flag. And, now it gave a team a 15-yard. I mean, that's a pretty big swing, man, a 15-yard penalty, So it just seems again, when I saw some of the stuff pass over the weekend, why every year? It is every year now. Do they have to make changes to the game every year? So much so, you look back at 25 years and sure, it's changed and it's changed a ton. But why do they have to do it every year? I don't know. They got these competition committees and we got to tweak the game. I mean, what is it going to look like 25 years from now? Are you going to recognize it what it looked like 50 years ago? I don't know, man.
Yeah. From my understanding that this is going to be this tackle is a personal foul and it's a judgment call by the ref and it's not reviewable. So you're in that ballpark again with pass interference. You're in that ballpark.
What's a catch? Like I said,
what's a catch? You're in and so that's what the category is. And I think that's where my beef lies. Excuse me, is that now you're relying on a judgment call for a new rule, new interpretation to be entered in. And but Roger Goodell says he's confident that we will be able to get this right on a consistent basis. So no worries. The commish says, Ren. So no problem here. Look away. The game will be safer. You'll see. I guess what I don't want to happen when we do look at the game in 5 years, 10 years, is what we're seeing now when quarterbacks run the ball down the field. When they're running, I saw it a bunch last year. These guys are afraid to even touch the quarterback when they're running. They're even if they're not sliding, they're afraid to tackle a quarterback. They're afraid to hit him. If he's a runner, Ren, he can be tackled. But you see this like I don't want to get penalized. And then the guy runs in for a touchdown. And he's like, "Hey, see that? Look what I did." It's like, you did not do all that. You were let in the end zone. They allowed you to go in there because you pranced around like you were maybe gonna slide. Maybe no. Oh, you can't touch me. I'm untouchable. That's what I'm afraid of with this kind of stuff. Every year they change the rule to protect the players, but that ends up just all of a sudden being flag football. And that's ultimately what people are complaining about. Like, this is just going to be flag football in like 5 years. Like, what gives? But
maybe in 5, but to another 25? I don't know.
I don't know why they have to change. It does seem like they have a rule change every year. And this kickoff
multiple
thing, this kickoff thing is fine with me. Like, they need to work on that because they try to change it. But when you're introducing more things, I think it needs to be thought through maybe for a couple years and then implemented fully. When this is kind of like, now we're in uncharted territory, we're in gray area here. Things that have been, instilled in the reffing game for a long time are black and white. We all know what they're supposed to be. But this will come down to a judgment call. And that's what we're going to be upset about. When a player obviously does it and he doesn't get flagged, we're going to be upset about it. That's the rule now. Like, what's going on? So it's going to be a bit of a tug of war, a bit of a mess for a long time. And why do they have to do it every year? I don't know. I don't know.
This is how goofy this stuff gets, Tay. So obviously we just talked about those 2 actual rules, the gaming change. But here's other 2024 approved playing rules, Tay. Coaches may make a 3rd replay challenge if either their first or 2 challenges are successful. So they get another one in the bag. So another stoppage of time potentially. Offense can now be assessed a penalty for a major foul on a play where the offense throws an interception or loses a fumble, even if the foul took place before the change of possession and the defense also committed a penalty on the play. So normally you throw a pick, there was a penalty. Now they just kind of ball change hands, move on. Nope, not the case. If the offense did something in that play as well, that can be assessed. How that'll work? Not sure. Replay can now be used to overturn a ruling that a quarterback was down or out of bounds before throwing a pass. There's another one, Tay. Replay can now be used to determine whether the game clock expired before the ball was snapped.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's actually...
So that is a new one, too, along with the hip drop tackle and the new kickoff rule.
Yeah.
So those are 6 new rules added to the game this year. Not only that, Tay. Not only that, the NFL... They also have new 2024 approved bylaws. Teams now have an unlimited number of designated for return transactions in the postseason, which is good. That's fine. The trade deadline has moved to the Tuesday after now, week 9, which should be because the season's longer.
Yep.
Each club may designate a maximum of 2 players for return when they are placed on injury reserve on the final roster cutdown day. So now a maximum of 2 guys designated return. Teams may elevate a bona fide quarterback an unlimited number of times from its practice squad to its active list to be its emergency third quarterback.
That kind of came in last year,
right? That's the Philly Niner game rule, kind of what they're doing there, from not this postseason, the postseason before, and then also 2024 approved resolutions. If an injured player is not traveling to an away game, teams must report the player has been ruled out before the team departs for the road trip. For the 2024 preseason, the league will expand the use of Hawkeye video technology in the coach's booth in preparation for full implementation in the 2025 season. So not just rule changes, Tay, for the 2024 approved playing rules, and then the 2024 approved bylaws, and then finally, again, the aforementioned 2024 approved resolutions.
Ooh,
there is our bingo card from the owners' meeting, Tay.
I mean, some of this stuff makes sense, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? The game's got to keep changing. And evidently, according to them, this is all for the better of everything. So, well, whatever. I actually love the clock, the play clock review. That's nice because that there's a human error factor.
But right,
in that.
There is, but it's also like the tick between 1/10 of a second and a snap is at times it's like
Just give it to him.
Like, yeah, you can't. Like, if that ball is right there and it's a tenth of a second to zero, and it's like, how do you legislate that again? Like, that can be really ticky tacky. It could, when if it's down, if it's that close, you just say no. It was fine.
Yeah, some of these are a little bit like, okay, roll your eyes a little bit. I would love to see them address the offsetting penalty situation that goes on. Is when you have penalties on both sides. If they qualify, they just
offset.
They offset and then they replay the down. I think that's ridiculous. I think they should factor in. I think they should be factoring. If you have a 15-yard penalty on the defense,
a 15-yard penalty, I mean, it does offset itself.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you have like a holding and a personal foul on the defense, holding on offense, that should be a 5-yard gain by the offense. Like, they should still move it 5 yards and either replay the down or keep the down as it is, because you have a holding penalty, but you also have a personal foul. Those right now would just offset, replay down. It's like, okay, that personal foul could have come at the very, very last minute, and that holding call could come somewhere not integral to the play. I feel like offsetting penalties for me is something they should really address and just make more sense going forward. But
it sounds like you want more rule changes.
I want it to look fair. When a player can, I don't know, just seems like it's easy for them to offset and just replay the down when one penalty doesn't seem to be as equal to the other penalty, but it just wipes out the whole good play.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Tay.
Okay.
I think they offset. I'm good. No more rule changes for Ren. No more. Stop doing it. It's too much. One of the big pieces from the owners meeting today was Matt LaFleur kind of mentions about Aaron Jones, the whole thing. It in quote unquote, it kind of caught me off guard, to be honest, Tay. Packers coach Matt LaFleur said to media,
NFL's... Did you say Pat LaFleur?
Matt LaFleur. If I did say Pat, well, that might be his other brother. That's not Mike LaFleur. But that said, he goes on to say, certainly, I knew there were some other things in play with Aaron Jones, LaFleur said, on Packers looking to restructure his contract. I didn't quite know how everything was going to go. It just happened really fast on that Monday. Management came down, and they were allowed to start to talk to those guys. It really happened fast. I don't know all the details to that. I'm not involved in those types of conversations. And then LaFleur also went on to say, not only the football player, but the man, he spoke about Jones, so many times how much he had been brought to our team. He's always been team first. He walks the walk. He's such a pro. That'll always be hard to replace. Gutekunst had a little bit to say about it. We were working towards a solution, but sometimes things don't work out. He said about releasing Jones. I don't blame him. He's always done right by us. It was one of those tough moments. Again, Tay, the one that stands out is, man, still got them silos in place, Tay. Talking about certainly, management came. It really happened. I'm not involved in those types of conversations. You're not involved in those types of conversations.
I'm not involved in those type of conversations.
Like, ooh,
are you kidding me?
And then a former Packer, the Claymaker, came out and criticized management for exactly saying that. Like, this guy is a super successful winning head coach, Matt LaFleur, not Pat LaFleur, but Matt LaFleur. And he's not involved in that. Like, Clay's also dumbfounded by that. Like, how is this possible? How does he not have any input in that? Like, what gives? But the silos are alive and well at 1265, Tay.
Absolutely. And if there are only a couple silos, that's one too many. You can see where it's Matt and his coaching staff and everybody else. You probably have Brian Gutekunst, Mark Murphy, and Russ Ball in the same silo, and then you have Matt in the other one. And it's like, that sucks, because to Clay's point, it's like, this guy needs to prepare, wrap his head around, and maybe has really good, opinions about the situation. Like, hey, Brian, maybe we can do something here.
He's literally saying, this is my team leader.
Soul of
he just
team.
Went onto a podcast and said, who's been the number one guy you've coached? Like,
yeah.
And I think he says badass Aaron Jones. It's him. And he calls him a badass.
Yeah. It's like
and okay, I don't want Matt LaFleur to be, rubber stamping every, personnel decision. No, but to not, as he says, quote unquote, Tay, let me find it here again. Where'd he go? I don't know all the details of it. I'm not involved in those types of conversations. Those are his words.
Yeah.
Like, you're not involved. Like, this is the guy. And he goes on to later say, like, yeah, we've talked about Jordan taking a bigger role there, obviously with Aaron leaving, Aaron Jones, that is. So obviously it affects some things, Tay. I mean, he's thought about it. It's kind of a big deal. Like, what?
Yeah. This is again, and kind of embarrassing almost that we're here again. This is a prime example, and I kind of talked about it when Aaron Jones left. This is the kind of stuff that I hate about the front office. They need a PR person. They need somebody like this. They need to be more in communication with everybody about this stuff. Even the day of, you're like, hey Matt, like, we might not be able, this might not go down. What
are you thinking about this? We're kind of far apart. Like, when you find out they really weren't that far apart, like, Matt might say, like, well, guys, let's see if, maybe Matt can ring up, Aaron Jones and be like, hey, I hear things aren't going well, but I really like you back. Like, what are you thinking here?
Yeah. Right.
Just anything, like, you could play peacemaker a little bit. Like, you're not involved in those type of conversations. You want the guy who knows the personnel better than, like, from an intimate standpoint, like relationship wise. You don't want the guy that knows that person to maybe have that ability to just, like, just give him a buzz quick. Sure, he's important to you. Give Aaron a call.
And I mean,
like, that blows my mind, man.
Someone can come back and say, well, this is, again, we see it all the time. This is just a business, Ren. But
I get it.
My point is, it doesn't have to be. And I'm sorry, but the NFL is not like any other business. Like, it's not. You can run it like that, and a lot of times it is. But when you're dealing with all the, these entities, this business that requires a player to talk to the media every week, like you have these things in there, but now you're saying it's a business, and it's like, well, there's some things that just don't add up with that in the perception and the daily runnings of the NFL. It just doesn't match up. So yeah, you can fall back on it's a business and you just do whatever you do, and that's what Brian's doing. He's up there managing this team and doing what he has to do, but it's like, I have a problem with this. This is
sure.
And this is the back with, I think, what Aaron was trying to get across. Aaron Rodgers was trying to get across with management and saying, like, you need to treat players better on the way out. And then you get Aaron saying, like, I just wanted to be someone where I was wanted. It's like, God dang it, seriously.
Well, and again, for most parts, Brian's and Matt don't need to talk about most of these personnel decisions. Doesn't need to happen. He's bringing in a kicker to compete with Anders. Nothing. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But
when
the case of the guy that you call the biggest badass in your locker room because of how much of a great dude he is and walks the walk kind of guy, and like, you're not involved in those that's crazy town, Tay.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I agree. And it was like that with Aaron. Like, we had that debate whether Aaron should have input on people or not. And I
don't know about Aaron having input.
But that was the conversation
right.
that everyone had. It was like, should he be involved in some of these things?
And I think my thought was like, nah, bro.
But when you're talking about
that's worked out in New York year one with all the players.
Right. But when you're talking about a head coach
head coach who coaches the guys, like, in the locker room with them.
And you remember when
the leader of your football team, not the quarterback, the leader of your football team, the head coach.
Do you remember when we would send out the convoy, the head coach, Mark Murphy, everyone to go recruit Aaron Rodgers in California? Matt LaFleur was there, like, he was okay doing that and being involved in that, but now you're not gonna. So yeah, it's like, come on. I think everyone thinks it's whack.
Well, and Brian should know, like, obviously he's not just a fly on the wall, like, he should know that Aaron Jones is probably pretty important to Matt LaFleur, and he should have a pretty good idea what Matt thought about Aaron Jones, right? You say, well, this guy, he's a straw that stirs the drink. I'm going to involve Matt in this we're breaking down here. I'm going to involve Matt in the conversation. Let him know what's going on. This is breaking down. It's not looking good. We're probably going to go in a different direction. And maybe you're going to tell him, Brian's going to say, I'm going to make the decision here, but I want to let you know what's going on. This is kind of what's happening with this. We really want Aaron back, but it's not looking good, Matt. And then, yeah, maybe Matt, again, could say, well, again, would you mind if I reached out to Aaron and just had a convo quick? That's communication like that should happen with, again, those certain players in certain situations.
No, Ren, it's clinical. We have to just slice it and dice it and replace it with Josh Jacobs. Insert. Okay, go. You got it. I know it's not. That's oversimplifying, but this is kind of a track record by Brian.
It's and for the most part, Goot's been a pretty good GM, like above average. We know that.
Yeah,
pretty well above average, but he does seem to miss on some of this stuff with the communication part. Mm-hmm. And
these misses are on PR issues. It seems.
Well, no, it's just communication. Like again, it's silo crap. It's stupid.
But when your coach comes out and says it publicly, I think that's also the issue too. It's like now he's saying things out in public.
Well, I don't think Matt like intentionally like was throwing him on the bus there, but he just said what he said. But maybe it's veiled. I don't know, but
yeah,
it begs a lot of questions. Is what it does. That's why we get to talk about it, because it begs questions.
It does. The other question I have is I talked all last year about why we got rid of Mason Crosby when we shouldn't have. So then now you bring in a dude to compete against Anders Carlson, and this man is from Minnesota. He was there the last 3 seasons.
Actually, originally he grew up in South Africa.
Well, sure. But he recently was on the Vikings.
Correct.
Before that, he was 1 year with the Titans. Before that, he was 1 year with the Cleveland Browns. That man is Greg Joseph. He's a kicker, and whatever. Like I don't even like. It's like okay.
He is camp competition today because, according to Overcap, Joseph has a $1.125 million base salary, $117,500 roster bonus, and a $500,000 workout bonus. His salary cap number will be $1.152,500, but only if he makes the 53 roster. So essentially, the only thing he's guaranteed is potentially up to $50,000 today in workout bonuses. So again, it's just a guy. Yeah, he's 29 years old. He's made 100 of 121 field goals, 82.6% in 67 NFL games. It's not bad, Tay. In his 7 NFL stops, 7, and kicked, like you mentioned, the aforementioned Cleveland, Minnesota, and Tennessee most.
I mean, we all know Anders is going to get the job. I mean, really, come on. Are we going to give up on this kid? And like, he's going to have to tank in preseason to really like, oh, maybe Greg is the veteran here.
Right.
Let's give it to him. But I guess like I'm just upset because I think we should have brought a Greg Joseph type in during the season to push the guy, push our young one.
They probably
forward.
should have, when they started going on that run and playoffs are.
So is this a little late? Yeah, this is late to me.
It was way late. They maybe should have brought their boy Mason back and just said, hey,
yeah,
what's
the difference? Actually,
get him in
tell
here.
me the difference between.
At the time, it would have cost him nothing, and they maybe have 1 or 2 more wins as a result, and maybe it would have beat the Niners.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why this upsets me, and I'm just like, okay. And am I complaining that they're getting
a kicker? Tay, no. Just so you know, and I know I start saying that maybe you should run Mason. You get a little. Yeah,
you're right. You're right.
He was one of the worst ranked kickers in the league in his short period of kicks in the time he was in the league last year. So,
well, he was out for a while.
Wow. Your wife just brainwashed Mason love.
So I guess like I'm glad they have a kicker in. They needed some veteran presence, someone to push Anders, to have a backup, whatever, camp body, but. They just went about it completely the wrong way here, and it's a little late for this. But who are they fooling? Anders is getting the job.
Yes, we know he is the golden boy of one special teams coach.
All right, Ryan. What else is on your list?
Not much else here, Tay. We're going to get out of here pretty quick. But yes, they're only down to Rudy Ford and David Bakhtiari left out there of former Packers that could still sign with the football team. As again, we mentioned Patrick Taylor was signed today by the San Francisco 49ers.
And Josiah DeGuara was signed.
He was signed when I was on vacation. Yep. He went down to Jacksonville because I don't know. He has some blackmail on somebody down there, I would guess. Yeah. That's my only guess there, Tay.
God, we got to sign him.
I mean, I'm sure Josiah's a cool dude, but not so much a football player.
So, going to keep a lookout for his stuff on Friday morning.
Yeah, you get those, those non-broken in pass catching gloves. Give me a pair of Josiah DeGuara
sparkling
gloves,
white.
They're just
sparkling white.
Beautiful, man. Oh, goodness.
Well, we'll talk about it next week, but even if it's a thing, and if you want to just nip it in the bud, we don't have to talk about it. But this whole Lambeau Stadium drama, we can get into that next week. That'll be a little cliffhanger. Just give our 2 cents about it. But spoiler alert, probably nothing's happening. It's just a lot of like showboating and drama. But we'll weigh in on that. And, it's getting closer to the draft, Ren. So,
in fact, Tay, that is 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Yeah, 3 weeks. So, if you got any prep you want to be doing, I know there are a lot of people out there do draft stuff. I don't get into it. I just want to see what they pick. It doesn't, I don't want to get my hopes up. That's what it boils down to. But we can always talk about positions of need and where they should go.
We will revisit that position of need. There are a few guys out there. Again, we're not putting together mocks. That's like a guy telling you about his golf game and what went right and what went wrong that day. I mean, mock drafts are just boring and annoying.
Here's a picture of my kids.
Because I don't need a 7-round mock draft what the Packers are going to do. Maybe they'll trade up here or down there and they get this guy. No, I mean, can you prognosticate maybe into the first and second round about a couple guys that could be Packers? Sure. Beyond that, it's too much. Stop it, everybody. If you want to do it for fun, it is a fun thing. Go do it. It's fun. It's a good time.
It's only really fun for yourself.
Yeah, it's not
like showing off your fantasy team. No one cares.
Talking about potential top 50 guys, sure, but beyond that, let's not kid ourselves.
And if we were the Bears with the number 1 pick, that's something to talk about.
That's a lot to talk about.
If the Packers had
but
the top 5 pick,
yes. They're talking fingernail polish and pink iPhones, I guess, at this point, which is stupid. But
drag the bottom of the barrel. Let's they got to do something. They got to keep it going. They got 3 weeks of this, Ren. Come on. What else are we gonna find out?
It's Caleb. They're drafting. Who cares? I mean, big deal. Just move on and hopefully put it.
Just ruin them and move on.
Yeah, we're ready to watch them fail. I mean, that's what they do best. So, but. Yeah, I mean, we'll look at positions of need. We'll talk about a few guys. There are a couple, when we talk about some of these players that are just, they scream could be drafted by the Packers.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about a couple of those guys next week. I found before, we won't get into it, but I found the city of Green Bay and the Packers thing to be quite interesting because I don't know what the mayor's thinking. But at the same time, the lease is in place for another 9 to 18 years, something like that.
Yeah.
The Packers they're trying to, use their leverage a little bit and force a play because they pretty much have all the leverage. But if you're the mayor of Green Bay, Tay, the last thing I'll say is, do you really like your job? Because Green Bay doesn't have an economy without the Packers. Literally, they don't, Tay. That city pretty much ceases to be anything outside of a pretty small Northeast Wisconsin city without that football team. None of that stuff would be anywhere ever if the Packers weren't there. It just wouldn't have existed. So I don't know what the mayor's thinking, but the Packers have all the leverage, and he's probably not going to have all the job next time he's up for re-election. That's all I can tell you.
All right, on. Well, thanks for hanging with us, everyone out there in the universe. We appreciate you listening and your support. If you haven't subscribed, please go do so. And anywhere you get your pods. And thanks for hanging with us. Ren, thanks for coming over after your vacay. Hopefully you didn't give me anything, like
no, just enough so that you can get those unused DeGuara gloves on Friday, Tay.
Sweet.
So on that note, until episode 266, Tay, on the pup list.